Hello and welcome back to the Research Reproducibility video tutorial series. If you've been following along in the video so far, most recently we went through the article manager object and all of its methods, and next in our skeleton is the article extractor. So let's break open a shell and get going on some of the methods available to the article extractor. First thing we want to do, I'm going to import this class called raw article. It's just a class that I built in Python for reading a PDF file. That's all it does. So when we instantiate an instance of the raw article object, it takes as, in the constructor, it takes as its parameter a string, a directory to a PDF file. And so we can see if we run that and then call RA, the raw article object, has an attribute text, and if we print out the first 1,000 characters of the text, you can see original article, effective body mass index on robotic assisted, total, laparoscopic hysterectomy, ... other article information. So if we pull open this article, which I already have it open, you can see same article. Original article, effective body mass index, robotic assisted. Great, it's the same article. So you can see like all this information matches. That'll be important because a lot of articles extractors methods take text as their parameter. So I just want to have the text of an article to use when we start calling the methods. First method, let's import the article extractor method. Instantiate an instance of the article extractor object. Again, we have this run style keyword parameter. Just setting that to 0 just says we want user interaction, because remember, by default it's 1, but we want to interact with the program right now for demonstration purposes. And first method in the extraction, we're going to run the article extractor, call the method getReviewer, which is just going to figure out who's reviewing the article. It does this based on looking at the user ID of the computer. So we think the who's reviewing the article should be Christian Lucas based on the user of the computer. Is this correct? Yup, looks good. And everything in the article extractor is handled internally. So article extractor, the getReviewer method of the article extractor doesn't return anything. It just sets an attribute of the article extractor called entry, which is a dictionary with the key corresponding to the RepeAT codebook value. So the RepeAT codebook key, so in this case reviewer, and the value is the value that is relevant to the article. So in this case we can see if we print out article extractor.entry, our article extractor instance.entry, the entry attribute, we see we have a dictionary with the key reviewer, the RepeAT codebook key, and the value 6, which corresponds to the 6th reviewer, which is me. Great. Which is exactly what we expect. Oops, don't read my text. Okay. So moving on to the next method of extraction, we have getHypotheses, which takes as its parameter a text. So this will be important later for the distinction between PDF and XML articles. So it's set up in a way that with the article extractor methods taking text as its parameter, we have the flexibility to use multiple different types of articles, and you can go about extracting the text any way you want and call the same methods regardless of what kind of an article you're using, which makes sense because we should be looking for the same keywords for determining whether they were hypothesis generating or driven, or what kind of statistical analysis software they used, or if their analysis processes were clear. It's about the text in the article, not the type of article itself. So it intuitively makes sense and also gives us some flexibility in terms of the types of articles that we want to use. That will make more sense later, so just bear with me now and keep in mind that article extractor dot getHypotheses method takes as its parameter a string text. So we have the full text of the article, and from this, we say, I think hypothesis-driven or hypothesis-generating should be driven based on, and here's text straight from the article. In this study, we tested the following hypotheses: hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2. So yeah, that looks correct. That looks like they were hypothesis-driven. And so we say that looks fine. And then we have this little Python GUI pop-up that says, does the publication state null and alternative hypotheses? We'll give them an unclear. Tough to say with only this information. So, which is why that option is there. And that takes care of that. So if we, again, print out the article extractor and the entry attribute of our article extractor instance, you can see here we have new fields in our dictionary. Clear hypothesis, which is, again, a red cap field. Let's see, clear hypothesis, and hypothesis gender driven is a 1, clear hypothesis is 2, which corresponds to unclear. Hypothesis gender driven is driven. So that all looks in line with what we would expect and what we wanted. Next method of extraction, we can get the funding. So looks like that didn't find anything. I'll check the entry just to make sure. That didn't find any information, but funding would be like if they are funded by the NIH, if they have grant information, other financial relevant information. Next is we're going to get the inclusion-exclusion criteria. Again, the article extractor call the method get inclusion-exclusion criteria and takes as its parameter a string, the text to extract from. So we can see, I think inclusion-exclusion criteria stated should be yes, based on patients, were excluded. So we excluded patients that had supracervical hysterectomy and these other, looks like diagnoses. So yeah, that looks like it's correct. They present their inclusion-exclusion criteria. Then, based on the same information, are any standard ontology stated? Do they do CPT or ICD-9 codes? No, they don't. So if yes, we can type yes. If not, just click enter and we'll move on. So I'll take another look at the entry, and you can see inclusion-exclude location of 3 is set to 1. So that just means that they stated their inclusion-exclusion criteria in the body of the article. And there, we can look that up in the RepeAT codebook key. Exclusion location. So we see inclusion-exclusion location 3. If that's a 1, then it means body of text. In line with exactly what we'd expect. Next method available to us in the article extractor is getStats, which is just looking at what kind of statistical analysis software they use and the version number. So we think analysis software should be SAS, based on SAS software was used for statistical calculations. That looks good. So we can confirm that. And again, we'll print the entry dictionary of the article extractor instance. And we see, again, we have a new entry in our dictionary. The analysis software key has the value SAS, corresponding to the what analysis software was used for the statistical analyses. Great. Next, moving right along, we're knocking these out super quickly. We have the article extractor. In the article extractor object, we have the getLimitations method. Again, takes text as its parameter, the text from the article to extract from. And we say, I think the publication documents the limitations of the study should be yes. So that we're saying this study does document limitations. Based on a limitation is the use of medical record data that are intended for clinical and non-research purposes. Thus, some data, albeit small amounts, were missing. So they documented a limitation. That looks good to me. So we can confirm that and say, yes, they did document their limitations. Again, we take a look at the entry attribute of the article extractor instance and see we have another field, limitations where ____7 is set to 1. which I believe is set to should be body limitations where body of text, which makes sense because we found where they documented the limitations in the body of the text. Great. So now we're going to take a look at some of the methods if we had, instead of setting that run style keyword parameter to run style equals 1. So we're going to tell it no user interaction and just take a look at what happens. Just to verify that we have a new instance of the article extractor, take a look at the entry and see that it's empty, and start running some of the same methods that we just ran for the but for the other instance of the article extractor. So we getting the inclusion exclusion criteria. Like I said, no user interaction. The article extractor just takes its best guess. It says, I think inclusion exclusion location is in the body of the text, and inclusion exclusion stated is a 1, so it was stated. As we know from before, that is valid. And article extractor get stats method, calling with the parameter the text. Again, no user interaction, and we can take a look at the article extractor entry attribute to verify what information was extracted. And again, we see analysis software provided in a SAS. Analysis software open underscore 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 1 is set to 1, which means that it's proprietary, and we can validate that. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. So we have analysis software open. So if analysis software open underscore 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 1 is set to 1, which is what it is, that means that the analysis software is proprietary, which is what we expect because SAS is, of course, proprietary. Next, we will look at the get limitations method. No user interaction, but let's take a look at the entry, and we see again somewhere, limitations where underscore 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 7. So limitations were documented in the body of the text. This is all consistent with what we had before. It obtained all of the same results by just taking its best guess rather than asking the user for validation. And so you can start to see exactly the difference between how having a run style of 1 and a run style of 0, whether we're asking for user validation when we enter RepeAT entries into the database, how to manage errors. If you give it a 1, it's just going to give it its best shot, or if the run style keyword argument is set to 0, then we'll ask the user to manage and offer direction to the program as it proceeds. Fantastic. So that is a look at some of the common article extractor methods. I think there's a couple more, but you get the same idea. They all are formatted in exactly the same way. Article extractor dot and whatever article extraction method, and takes as its parameter whatever text you are going to be extracting from. And then you can take a look at the article extractor dot entry attribute to see what information was extracted. So that just about takes care of article extractor. Up next, we're going to take a look at the PDF and XML articles and how they fit in with this entire big picture. So stay tuned.